Yo, it's Dutch. So you know what that means. It's finally the premiere of The Kickout. Oh man, it has been a long time waiting. So finally, the premiere of The Kickout. And I'm here. And this show is basically going to be top whatever is going on that I like, I'm interested in, whatever. This is your chance to get to know me a little bit better as Patrick trips over everything. But, you know, it's what he does. So, like I said, you're going to get to know me a little bit better. And that's the whole purpose of this. You want to know me. Patrick has his. And obviously, y'all have seen that and everything. And so we're going to take some time and figure out some stuff that I like to talk about. And on this particular episode, it's going to be my top 3 favorite wrestlers all time, any organization. And most people know who I like, what I enjoy, but for the ones that don't know, I'm going to give you a little run on what I care for and what made me who I am today and what I look for in wrestling and what I base off of a lot of wrestlers off of these 3 when I look into, or excuse me, when I'm watching a match, I kind of compare it to these 3 wrestlers. So let's go ahead, get right into it. So number 3 is going to be Edge. I was a huge WCW fan, so when I came over and started watching the WWE/F, I didn't really have a favorite wrestler. The only people I really knew were Benoit, Malenko, Saturn, Jericho. Obviously, I knew The Rock and Stone Cold, Kane, Undertaker, you know, the big names. But, excuse me, besides that, I didn't really have a favorite besides the old WCW stars. So as I started watching wrestling, I really gravitated towards Edge. I thought he was, you know, when he parted away from the tag team, I started getting interested in him as a singles competitor. I really liked what he did when he had his feud with Angle. That's what really grasped me with him. And then later on, he started feuding with Cena and winning the title and stuff like that. And I think that's what really grasped me as a Edge fan, because I was a non-Cena fan for the longest time. So anybody that beat up Cena, that was where I went. And then, you know, after that, it was Edge all the way. I thoroughly enjoyed his matches. I think he's extremely charismatic. He sells so well. I think my best memory of Edge, if I had to point one memory, I'll give you one for each wrestler that I have. I think the best moment that I can pinpoint for Edge is probably, I'm going to have to go with his promo against Cena during their huge feud, not their first one. But later on, they had, as Cena was exiting the ring, Edge told him how much he hated him, how much he hated his hat, how much he hated his shoes, his cargo shorts, his fans. He hated his music and his little sirens that he called them. I really liked Edge's promo against Cena in that, although Edge did not win that rivalry, it, to me, still was one of his best rivalries that he had. So Edge is number 3. My next one will be Ultimo Dragon, and that's where I got my love for masked wrestling. If you know anybody that knows me, I like about a good percentage of masked wrestlers in wrestling today. I kind of gravitate to those guys. I like the mystery behind the mask. I'm not very big on unmasking wrestlers and stuff like that. So kind of sucked to win somebody like Rey Mysterio. You know, he gets unmasked and that identity's revealed. Juventud Guerrera, Psychosis, that mask comes off. I've never been a fan of that, but hey, you know what? They do it. It's for storyline. It is what it is. But I still to this day do not know what Ultimo Dragon's face looks like. I refuse to look it up, or La Parka's. Ultimo Dragon was a very different type of wrestling style for me. When you watched wrestling back in the 90s, it was all buff dudes beating the shit out of each other. Big muscular Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, and you have, even Conan was big, but he was still agile. But Ultimo Dragon, to me, I really liked his moveset. It was very versatile. It was very, very intriguing to see him go into a flurry of kicks, and then he would do a headstand on the top rope. And then he would go for a running power bomb. He would do a slingshot power bomb and stuff like that. Snap suplexes, very technical wrestler too. And even so much as when I did my own little wrestling career, if I ever did a submission finisher, I would do the Dragon Sleeper, but I wouldn't do overarm. I would always do underarm. If you don't know what that is, yeah, I'm sorry for you, but it's pretty self-explanatory. But Ultimo Dragon was a pretty big piece in my life with the Cruiserweight Championship. I believe he won it 2 times, and then he also won the WCW television title. I know he won that one, but still, once he dropped Sonny Ono and became a face, I started liking him even more. But he came into WCW as a heel, and he had his first match against Rey Mysterio. And he lost that, but he got the win back, and I believe that was at Starrcade. You don't have to check it, trust me, I know. But still, Ultimo Dragon was a pretty big piece of cruiserweight history when that was going on with Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko, and stuff. And he's the one that stood out to me the most. Even though Rey Mysterio is the one that skyrocketed, I still loved Dragon. And so that was Dragon. So my number one wrestler of all time, hands down, is Sting. For me, for Sting to be number one is because of his transformation that he went through. When I was growing up, I knew Surfer Sting. That's the Sting. You had super happy, fun Sting. He would go out there high-fiving the crowd. I mean, damn, dude, he even did a stint with RoboCop that was complete trash, but it was still fun to watch. I mean, but it was a really bad promo. It was so bad. But, he was always the fun guy. And it was really fun. And I can't even say fun. It was crazy as a child to watch somebody like Sting go from blonde Surfer Sting, and then he let his hair grow out to the dark brown, and there was no more blonde in it. And then he started going through that transformation of not being that big, lovable guy anymore, and started having self-conflict within himself. And then the whole feud with Lex Luger, with the tag team. And then eventually, you lead up to Bash at the Beach, and you have, the Outsiders coming in. And the Outsiders are, the third man's coming. The third man's coming. Hulk Hogan comes down that ramp, and he gives them the leg drop, and you can hear Schiavone go, Hulk, Hulk, Hulk. And it resonates with me as one of the best moments in wrestling history. And, they promoted that was going to be the biggest moment in wrestling history. And little did they, they say it, but they didn't realize how much of an impact it would have. And not only did that happen, it also created one of the greatest storylines that Sting ever had, even in wrestling history also, was Sting going to the Crow. And you can give thanks to Scott Hall for that. He had a lot of conversation with Scott Hall and Bischoff on the whole Crow gimmick and stuff like that. And that feud, to me personally, I love watching just because there was no physical altercation between those guys, and they told such a good story. And that right there alone puts just that storyline alone puts Sting at the top of my list, because how well he sold that storyline of being, the dark black and white personality of WCW, and it reflected very well what the company was going through with the black and white NWO. It was such a good stance that he took. I really like the moveset, of course, you know, the Stinger Splash, Scorpion Death Drop, which is the reverse DDT, and the Scorpion Deathlock, Sharpshooter, whatever you want to call it. But regardless, you know, Sting has been a pretty big impact on my life. And like I said, when I watch wrestlers, I compare a lot of wrestlers to Sting, Ultimo Dragon, and Edge, because they all three bring a different style of wrestling. You have a cruiserweight technical, you have somebody that's manipulative and will do anything to win, and then you have somebody that wins with grit and courage. It's, you know, all three pieces of wrestling, of characters that are made and stuff. And you know, and when you as I could pass on to you, if you ever try to find that favorite wrestler, try to relate yourself to that person, you know. And to me, the reason I like Sting so much is because I feel Sting was he was the leader. I look at myself as a leader myself, and I feel like Sting was that guy for WCW. You know, he never left the company. He stayed till the ship sank, until he had his last match with Ric Flair in 2001, which was, I mean, you know, it was an okay match, but still, it was pretty cool to see the two greatest fight. So, besides that, those are my three favorite wrestlers. I hope you enjoyed this little tidbit of my little life. And next week, I will have my next episode of The Kick Out. I'm not going to let you know what it is. I'll announce it the day before. But thank you, and I'll see you again.